Leela Hart had always been the kind of student who blended into the background. She walked through the crowded hallways of Westbrook High with her head down, her books pressed tightly against her chest, and her soft brown hair hiding most of her face. People barely noticed her, except the ones who wanted to make her life miserable. To most of the school, she was that quiet girl who didn't talk much, who never joined cliques, and who preferred to sit alone by the window during lunch. But what nobody knew, what absolutely none of them could imagine, was that her father wasn't just any man. He was the superintendent of the entire school district, the man every principal, every teacher, and every board member answered to. Leela never used that power. She didn't flaunt her name, never threw her father's authority in anyone's face. All she wanted was to be normal, invisible, safe. But life inside Westbrook High didn't allow that. The bullies had already chosen her months ago. There were 3 of them: Travis Reed, the self-proclaimed king of the hallways, captain of the soccer team, always surrounded by a pack of loud followers; Jenna Vale, the queen of gossip and envy; and Colton Myers, the silent muscle who loved doing the dirty work. Together, they ruled the hallways like they owned them. Teachers looked away because their parents donated money to the school every year. They thought they could do anything, and to Leela, they did. They shoved her in locker corners, threw snide comments in the hallways, and once even tossed her sketchbook into the trash right in front of her. She never fought back, never screamed, never told anyone. She simply picked up her things, wiped her tears when no one was looking, and walked away. But today was different. That morning, a heavy silence filled the hallways as students gathered around a new notice board announcement. District Superintendent to visit Westbrook High for full inspection. 2 p.m. The principal, Mr. Barnett, was already sweating through his suit. Teachers rushed to clean classrooms. Students whispered nervously about how strict the superintendent supposedly was. None of them knew he was Leela's father. She hadn't told a single soul. She didn't want the kind of attention that came with that. She just wanted peace. But peace doesn't last long when you're surrounded by people who feed off your pain. Leela was heading to her locker after third period, clutching her art folder, a project she'd spent 3 weeks on for her scholarship submission. It was a painting dedicated to her late mother, full of colors and emotion. It meant the world to her. As she turned the corner, she froze. Travis and his crew were waiting by her locker, grinning like wolves. "Hey, quiet girl." Travis smirked, leaning against the lockers. "You heading to art club? Maybe paint us something real this time instead of your pathetic sad girl faces." His friends laughed. Leela said nothing. She just moved past him and began unlocking her locker. But Travis stepped closer, too close. "You ignoring me now?" he said, his tone sharp. Jenna giggled. "Oh, maybe she's too shy, Travis. Or maybe she thinks she's better than us." Leela kept her eyes on her lock, her fingers trembling. "Please move," she said softly. Travis grinned wider. "Or what? You'll tell a teacher? Go ahead, they love me." He leaned in, his voice dropping to a whisper. "You're nothing here, Leela." The words hit harder than they should have, but she stayed calm. She had endured worse. She finally opened her locker, but the second she did, Jenna grabbed her folder and held it up. "What's this? More emo art?" she mocked. "Give it back," Leela shouted, her voice breaking for the first time that day. The crowd that had gathered around started whispering. Jenna flipped the folder open and gasped. "Oh my God, you actually painted your mom. Is this supposed to be deep?" She burst into laughter, and so did Travis. Then, before Leela could grab it back, and Colton stepped forward and snatched the folder out of Jenna's hand. He tore the painting in half. The sound of paper ripping through the air made Leela's heart stop. "Oops," Colton said coldly. "Guis art class is cancelled." Something snapped inside her. 3 months of silence, humiliation, and bottled up emotion burst all at once. Her eyes filled with tears, but they weren't the weak kind anymore. They were sharp, steady, burning. She clenched her fists, her knuckles white. "You shouldn't have done that," she whispered. Travis leaned down, mocking her trembling tone. "Oh yeah, what are you going to do about it, quiet girl?" She glared at him for the first time, her brown eyes fierce. "You'll see," and Travis smirked and shoved her shoulder, making her stumble back. The crowd gasped. Leela straightened herself slowly. "Move," she said firmly. "You don't tell me what to do," he barked, and before anyone could react, he kneed her in the face. The sound was awful, sharp, brutal, echoing in the hallway. Leela fell to the floor, clutching her nose as blood started to drip down. Everyone froze. Even Travis looked stunned by what he'd done. The crowd scattered a little, whispers turning into fear. Leela's fingers were trembling, her eyes watering, but when she looked up, her face wasn't of someone broken. It was calm, cold, controlled. She stood up slowly, wiping the blood from her lip with the back of her hand. "You'll regret that," she said quietly, and walked away before anyone could stop her. She went straight to the restroom, cleaned herself up, stared at her reflection for a long moment, and whispered, "Enough." She pulled out her phone and dialed a number she hadn't used in months. Her father's private line. "Dad," she said, her voice steady but hollow, "you should see what your district's star school really looks like." Her father's tone changed instantly. "Lila, what happened?" She didn't explain much, just said, "You'll see when you get here," and hung up. Back in the hallway, Travis was nervously pacing. "Dude, you might have gone too far." Colton muttered. "Shut up," Travis snapped. "She won't say anything. She never does." But deep down, he felt something heavy in his stomach. He knew something was off this time. By lunch, the rumor had spread across the entire campus. Everyone knew Travis had hit Leela. The principal called Travis to his office. But since there was no proof and Travis's dad was one of the biggest donors, he got off with just a warning. "Don't let it happen again." "Travis," the principal said nervously, avoiding eye contact. "It won't," Travis smirked. At 2 p.m. sharp, a convoy of black SUVs rolled up in front of the school. Everyone rushed to the windows to see. Out stepped Richard Hart, the district superintendent, tall, imposing, dressed in a dark navy suit that radiated authority. Teachers straightened their clothes. The principal practically sprinted outside to greet him. "Mr. Hart, welcome, sir. We didn't expect you so early." "I wasn't planning to come early," Richard interrupted, "but I received a call that changed everything." The principal blinked. "Oh, may I ask? From my daughter?" Richard said sharply. The hallway went dead silent. Students froze, teachers exchanged looks. Travis, standing at the end of the hallway, turned pale. "Your daughter?" The principal stammered. "Yes," Richard said. "Lila Hart. She's a student here." The crowd whispered in shock. Travis's mind went blank. Jenna's face turned ghost white. Richard's voice cut through the silence like a blade. "Where is she?" A few students pointed hesitantly toward the art room. Richard walked there with the principal trembling behind him. When Leela saw her father enter, she stood up, calm, composed, no tears left. "Dad," she said softly, "I'm fine." Richard looked at her bruised face, the faint red mark near her nose, and his eyes turned dark with fury. "Who did this?" he asked quietly. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. The silence in the room was enough. The guilty faces said it all. The superintendent turned to the principal. "Mr. Barnett, clear your schedule. You and I will be having a very long meeting with the board tonight." The principal swallowed hard. "What? Yes, sir." Richard then addressed the students. "Let me make something clear to everyone here," he said, his deep voice echoing through the hallway as more students gathered around. "This district does not tolerate violence, bullying, or cowardice. You think because your parents donate money or because teachers fear you, you can do whatever you want. Not anymore." His eyes locked on Travis. "You, come forward." Travis hesitated, trembling. "Now." He stepped forward slowly, his fake confidence completely gone. "Apologize to her." Travis stammered, "Yes, sir, it was a mistake. I apologize," Richard repeated, his tone ice cold. Travis looked at Leela. "I'm sorry," he muttered. "Louder," Richard said. "I'm sorry," Travis shouted, his voice cracking. The hallway fell into a stunned silence. Richard turned to the principal. "Suspend him immediately, effective today, and I'll personally be reviewing the faculty who allowed this to happen under their watch." Mr. Barnett nodded shakily. "Of course, sir." Richard placed a hand on Leela's shoulder. "Let's go home." As they walked out together, everyone watched silently, some in awe, some in guilt. Leela didn't say a word. Her quiet revenge had already spoken louder than anything she could have ever done. But what no one knew was that this was just the beginning. Richard wasn't planning to stop at a single suspension. He was about to uncover everything. The corruption, the favoritism, the teachers who turned a blind eye, the students who tormented others for sport. And for the first time, Westbrook High was going to pay for every quiet tear that had ever been shed in its hallways. Leela sat in the car beside her father as the school faded in the distance. "You didn't have to do all that," she murmured. He looked at her. "You didn't deserve what they did, and I should have protected you sooner." She leaned back, her eyes still cold but calmer now. "I'll handle the rest," she said quietly. Her father glanced at her, confused. "The rest?" She smiled faintly. "They think this is over. It's not, because the quiet girl who never fought back was done being silent."